peace be with each and every one of you on this beautiful Sabbath day. We're going to start off by going over to Micaiah, and it's found on page 704, Micaiah 2 to be exact. Micaiah 2, and we're going to be reading verses 2 and 3. Verse 2 of Micaiah 2, it says, "They covet fields, then seize them by violence, also houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his inheritance. Therefore, this is what Yahweh says, Behold, against this family I will allow disaster from which it will not be removed from their necks. And neither will you walk arrogantly, for this is an evil time." Notice that last line. This is an evil time. Now this search came up in this scripture right here. And the title of this search is NATO. And for your notes, the skip was 666. Okay? It was found in this scripture. The skip was 666 characters. And the title of this search is NATO. So let's get right into it. We see what's going on. And we see the prophecies being fulfilled in it. These are the things we've longed for a very long time. And what our great teacher has showed us and taught us would be taking place. And these times and these things are actually here now and taking place. Time is very short. So we need to really get our focus on our overcoming, on our studies, following the advice and guidance of our counselors and teachers, and doing everything we can to be the most honorable, righteous servants of Yahweh that this world is going to need when it's all said and done. So let's go into the search. This is an amazing search. So let me go ahead. Okay, and let's get this up here so you can get a screenshot. And then we're going to put this up here so you can get a screenshot. Okay. All right, so I'm going to zoom in like I always do. Okay, so let's start. Okay, right here we have NATO. Okay, we have NATO right there. And then right over here, number two is armies. Okay, remember the Pope's armies, and there's more to that coming later. Armies. Okay. Then right here, 3 and 4, which crosses 3. 3 is right here, and 4 is right here. That is darkening days. Darkening days. Okay. Then right here, 5, which goes all the way across to the end of the page. Number 5 is the number 8. Now in Strong's Hebrew Dictionary, the number 8 means destruction. Destruction. Okay. Then right below number 5 is number 6. Right there. Number 6. And it goes across the page to the end also, and it's enforcement. Remember, they're going to enforce the mark of the beast. Then connected to number 5, remember number 5 is right here. Connected to number 5 is number 7, and that's China, which also connects to the number 8, which is destruction. Okay? Then down here, number 8 on the list is the end of days. The end of days, which is the time period we're in at this moment. End of days. Then right up here, connected to number 2, okay? Number 2. Number 9 is Elohim, or gods. Connected to number 2, which is armies, gods, Elohim. Then down here, we have Beit Yahweh, which is house of Yahweh. House of Yahweh. Then we have over here, and this goes pretty much over half the page. Okay. Number 11, and it goes over to here. Number 11 is the number 60. And the number 60 connects to the house of Yahweh. Okay? And I didn't look up that number, so it gives you something to do. The number 60. Okay? All right, so we have 11. Then right here, and this connects to the end of days, it's number 12, and it's threatening. The end of days will be threatening, and we see this taking place. Up here, number 13, which is mixed with darkening days, number 13 is war. War. Then we jump over to here, 14 and 15. 14 and 15. 14 and 15 is the end 1 hour. The end 1 hour, and it connects to armies and it also connects to Elohim. The gods, 1 hour, armies, and the end. Okay? 14 and 15. Then we go over to here to number 16. Number 16 is Belgium. Belgium is where NATO is located. Belgium. 17 and 18, right here, 17 and 18 means, it says, dying will die. Dying will die. Now, the word dying was in the search 2,091 times. The Strong's Greek Dictionary for 2091 is make ready, prepare. Dying, they will die, because they've rejected Yahweh, his house, and the teachings of Yisrael Hawkins. Then right here, connected to NATO, number 19 is invader. Invader. Okay? Then we go over here, 20 and 21. 20 and 21 is the day of Yahweh, Universal Army. Okay, we have Universal Army, and then we have it connected over here, which goes over to 22, which is the day of Yahweh. Now, we close out this search. These things came up in the very end. We have 23, 24, and 25. 23, 24, and 25 connects to the house of Yahweh. And mixed in with this was Yahshua, Yisrael, priesthood. The men and women leading the house of Yahweh in the position of priest in the priesthood. We have last warning, voice of Yahweh, house of Yahweh, Yahshua, priests, and Yisrael Hawkins teachings. So we have last warning, voice of Yahweh, and it connects over here to house of Yahweh, and mixed in with that was Yahshua, Yisrael, priest or priesthood. Now, there were other things that were found in there that I don't have room to put all this stuff in there. And this may be an ongoing search, but we also found elite. Elite connects to number 5, which means destruction. Yes, the elite of this world without Yahweh are going to be destroyed. They're going to destroy themselves. We have execute. Execute, it connects to number 6, which is enforcement. And we notice what's going on in Australia, Austria, and Canada. They were enforcing and executing what they wanted to do in their beastly systems and their beastly agenda. We have Gomorrah. We have fierceness. We have godlike. We have kill, which connects to number 6, which is enforcement. We have menace. Menace connects to NATO. Confrontation, which connects to number 20 and 21, which is Universal Army. We have the transliteration for 2022. And once again, what came up was January. Now, in one of the previous searches, January had the year, the Hebrew year for 2023 connected to it. So, we're here. We're at the final stage of this nightmare that the world's going to have to go through and we're going to have to witness. Everybody needs to stay strong, stay close to the house of Yahweh, stay close to your counselors, seek counsel in everything that you need to have questions answered on. Don't go off on your own. Be careful with what we see in the media. Remember, get your news from the house of Yahweh. Okay? Don't allow Satan to trip you up, especially now. Prepare your hearts and minds, for Yahweh's judgment is coming. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the great priest, the great Kahan, Zephaniah Hawkins.
In the 19th book of Israel, this is entitled By the Lamplight. In chapter 36, the title is actually NATO, the Pope's Army. And in this sermon, Pastor was closing out in verse 45, and he was mentioning 2 Kepha 3, verse 10. He said, "But the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night." And he goes on to say here, he said, "Very few are going to heed this warning." How many heeded it when the ark was built by Noah? It's the same example as we see here. Not very many. Most have to wait until they see or get burned themselves. That's what's going to take place. And as the great deacon just said, that warning has been going out. The foolish, they won't listen to the warning, but the wise will. So to continue our learning today, we turn the services over to the great Kohan, Benjamin Krause Hawkins.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Yahweh's peace be with everyone. Please be seated. Let's go ahead and put up the title slide. We've got a lot to go through. I'm calling this Vatican West. And as you see on the compass there, the W and the E, you see the Vatican in the east and the capital of Washington, D.C. in the west. But we're going to figure out who that we is. Let's go to the first slide. This is from NATO, the Pope's Army, ready for satellite nuclear war in heaven and earth, Samuel 3, 11, 30, 19, where I spoke with Pastor and I spoke about George Washington. Okay? You need to go back and read this sermon. It says, but they're reminding the West. He's speaking of NATO here and how they're reminding the allied armies, the 30 armies there that make up NATO. He says, but they're reminding the West of what they vowed to already, to oppose organized terror with the greatest energy and determination without giving the slightest impression of considering their blackmail and their impositions, and at the same time to transform them into our principal allies, the elements of the Muslim world, who are the people that desire liberty and democracy, who desire to be a Catholic and come in and run for president in their country, is another way to put it. The ones willing to put our people into offices to turn them like they did the United States. They had it set up, the United States, by Washington, President Washington. You didn't get all of that today, but it's coming very soon. Be tuned in. Don't miss it. It's really important that you get this about President George Washington. This thing began way back then, but not NATO. NATO began here recently. Now put that in the gematria, and you get 873. It only goes to 873, not 8731 in the Strong's. And it means evil, wicked, bad. Second number, 5238, means to be viler, to be even more wicked. And 5175 is serpent, from 5172 to practice divination. Now, who would that be talking about? The divining serpent? Let's go to the next slide. Let's take that same quote and let's pare it down a little bit and see what else is revealed in here. That desire liberty and democracy, who desire to be a Catholic and come in and run for president in their country, is another way to put it. The ones willing to put our people into offices to turn them like they did the United States. They had it set up, the United States, by Washington, President Washington. You didn't get all that today, but it's coming very soon. Be tuned in. Don't miss it. It's really important that you get all this about President George Washington. You put that quote in, you get 4661, and it means a war club. The second number, 2796, means Masons. And the third number, 2701, means village of cavalry, or war horses. As you see Washington there on his war horse. Let's go to the next slide. Now, on 2/22/2022, the other day, was Washington's birthday. And there is a sign given here to you from Yahweh. Put in Washington's birthday, sign of 2/22/2022. You get the number 854. And it means invisible, unseen, and hidden. Invisible. Now, they tried to hide this, but Yahweh is going to reveal it to his house today, what this represents. That number 854. Just keep it in your mind. Put in 2 times 2 times 2, or 222 times 2022, or drop the 0, 222, and you get 1776. The number at the base of the pyramid, also the date or the year that the United States was formed. That was from July 4th, 1976 to 2/22/2022 this year was 89,717 days. Put in 89,717, you get 2796 Masons. Remember, George Washington was a Mason. This is no secret. He was a Freemason. That means he was a Catholic. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Put in 2 times 2 times 2 times 222 equals 1,776. You get 1106, which is speaking of Genesis 11:6. And Yahweh said, indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. After this, or in the last days, nothing that they purpose to do will be withheld from them. Now, that one is what you see on the dollar bill with Washington, with the pyramid and the eagle, this war that started in Egypt, this teaching. And remember the One World Trade Center. Put in, let us build ourselves a city. This is Genesis 11:4. Let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. Put that in, you get 9/11. And that tower, we're going to learn what this tower means, but it's also talking about a tower fortified to the sky. Put that in, you get 1776. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. Let's see what Pastor says about the tower. From unveiling Satan, her true identity revealed, chapter 5, verse 1078. This is the online version. He says, the nations are now fearful of each other and are preparing for war. Nimrod's form of government, which is the same form of government that we see active in the world today, says, let us build a higher tower. In effect, his message was, let us combine our forces and become so great that no one will dare attack us. Let us build powerful weapons and a stronger army than anyone else, so every other nation will be afraid of us. Put that in, you get 1793, which was the year the United States Capitol cornerstone was laid by Washington, George Washington, the Freemason. The second number, 1167, means Baal and Lord. Now, that number 1167:6 is referring, you can break it up. 116 is talking about Genesis 11:6, which I just read on the last page, and 76 is referring to 1776. Add up those numbers, 1793 and 1167, and you get 2960, and it means special to the Lord. Special to the Lord. 1092 is the Greek word George. George Washington, the earth builder. Remember Jorge, the Pope's name, Jorge. Pastor explained it means tiller of the soil. Remember Cain was a tiller of the soil. This is representing this war that's been from Cain. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is from the architect of the Capitol website. The apotheosis of Washington in the eye of the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol was painted in the true fresco technique by Constantino Brumidi in 1865. 1865 means liberty in Strong's. Brumidi was born and trained in Rome and had painted in the Vatican and Roman palaces before immigrating to the United States in 1852. The word apotheosis in the title means literally the raising of a person to the rank of a god. When you go into the U.S. Capitol and you look up on the ceiling, you see Washington with all the gods because he was lifted up by the Vatican as a god. He's one of their Jesuits. He's one of their Freemasons that founded this country, that got involved. Remember, our ancestors ran here to escape these people. But guess who chased them here? And guess who set up their government here? Didn't Yahweh tell us in Revelation 13, the second beast? So put in eye of the rotunda. You get 1092, George. Remember, he's special to the Lord. Who is the Lord? The Vatican, Baal, okay? And Satan, he's special to Satan. 1054 is the second number, and it means Jupiter. You see this official painting of Patria Pater, the father of our country, George Washington. Look who's over his head. Zeus, Jupiter. Put in the raising of a person to the rank of a god, you get 2274. Now, who is the one that started all that? The Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Herodians. 2274 means a company, a society, charmer, spells. From 2266, allied, the allied armies form an alliance. Let's see about this alliance they formed, but let's go to this next one first. This next slide. Okay, there it is. Now, when you go to the U.S. Capitol, you see George Washington directly below in the eye of the rotunda. The rotunda means round, circle. It means a circle. And directly below the statue of Washington is Washington's tomb or crypt, and it's empty. It's empty. There's no body there. Because what they want you to think is, he's gone. He went to heaven. He's in heaven now. He's been exalted into the heavens. This is what the Egyptians did in their pyramids, the same exact thing. Egyptian pharaoh burial chambers, you get 1776, and 1361 means to exalt, to raise up to great height. And 1361 in Greek means cherished by Zeus. Remember, he's special to the Lord. George. Apotheosis of George Washington, the Capitol Rotunda, is 2749, and it means from 2748, diviners, magicians, a horoscopist as drawing magical lines or circles. Remember the rotunda. The crypt beneath the rotunda, 1776 and 1505. 1505 means diviners. Gee, what a coincidence, right? The divining serpent had his hand in all this. George Washington, American Pharaoh, 1776. Wow, all these coincidences. Let's go to the next slide. Remember the Capitol cornerstone laying. This is from Wikipedia. Quote, the United States Capitol cornerstone laying was the ceremonial placement of the cornerstone of the United States Capitol on September 8, 1793. The cornerstone was laid by President of the United States, George Washington, assisted by the Grand Master of Maryland, Joseph Clark, in a Masonic ritual. Put that in, you get 1443, Masons and Jesuits. Remember, Jesuits is 1443 backwards. So who is in, if you laid the cornerstone of the U.S. Capitol, that means you're guiding. That's the guiding force behind this whole system right here. It's the guiding force. Let's go to the next slide. Put in cornerstone laying, September 18, 1773, or 1793 is when it took place. You get 3466 mysteries. You know, Mystery Babylon, the mystery ceremonies, the mystery rituals, initiations. Washington was in full Masonic attire with his apron and, you know, all his Masonic equipment. If you read the article on Wikipedia, put Washington in full Masonic attire, you get 2106 cornerstone. He's the one that laid the cornerstone. Put in the cornerstone of the United States Capitol is 2796 Masons. Gee, all these coincidences, right? Let's go to the next slide. This is Genesis 11, 1 through 4. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, the beginning, that they found a plain in the land of America. Or Shinar, Babylon. Remember the second Babylon? Remember what you were told about in a Babylonish land? And they settled there. Then they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. They had bricks for stone and they had bitumen for mortar. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves. You know, a universal name, in other words. Lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. Put in that quote, Genesis 11, 1 through 4, you get 2796 Masons. Masons? 2810 is the second number, and it means a contrivance, gadget, apparatus, a warlike machine or mental machination, engine, invention, contrivances, engines of war for hurling stones and arrows. You know, the first bomb that they exploded in 1945, the Trinity bomb, was codenamed the Gadget. Gadget, right? These contrivances of war. Let us make us a strong tower. Let us build a big bomb. And let's get some missile launchers to go with them. Let's go to the next slide. This is from Devil Worship, The Shocking Facts, chapter 2, page 37. It says, quote, let us build a stronger army than anyone else, and then we will have peace. Put that in, you get 673, and it means to separate, sever, and to rend apart. Well, that's what you do with atoms. You split them to make explosions. The second number, 5259, means to weave, look at, through the idea of fusion. Oh? Isn't that a thermonuclear weapon, a fusion weapon? Yeah, they use the power of the fusion reaction to create the energy in these bombs. Now, how would Yahweh know that? Let's go to the next slide. Let us build a stronger army than anyone else, and then we will have peace. Add those two numbers, you get 5932, and it means moral perverseness, iniquity, unrighteousness, moral evil. You see Washington on his horse, and behind him it says, good moral character is the first essential in a man. They're trying to make you think that war is good moral, well, it is good moral character. It's not Yahweh's moral character, but it's how they perverted the moral character that Yahweh trained us in, that Yahweh wants us to understand. Peaceful Solution teaches true moral character, Yahweh's moral character. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now we're going to get into something here. Army of the Fourth Beast, put that in, you get 246, and it means a missile, a burning arrow. The second one, 1476, means to cover, surround, protect, and defend. And 1322, I've been showing you this for the last few weeks. Remember the palaces of the land of Egypt? Exalted organization, 1322. Remember, palaces means nations and exalted organizations. Moshe 3:9 we talked about last week. And I showed you how they even built the Lateran Palace on top of a cavalry station where they had their horses and their guards for the emperor. So it's talking about an exalted organization that they built to defend themselves. Let's go to the next slide. President Harry Truman launches the North Atlantic Treaty in Washington, April 4th, 1949, with a declaration that it will be a positive influence. A positive influence for peace and a shield against aggression. A shield. Now, President Harry Truman was the 33rd president. He was also a 33rd degree Freemason. Now, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty, was called the Washington Treaty also. It was signed in Washington, D.C. The Washington Treaty, or the North Atlantic Treaty, NATO, shield against aggression, put that in, you get 854. Now look, you see the word 854? The word OTAN? That's NATO. You see their flag? It's got OTAN written right on it. Look at it. It's used only one time in Ezekiel 16:54, the word OTAN. 854 means to make unseen, to hide, invisible, unseen, and hidden. Let's go to the next slide. OTAN is the French word Organisation du Traité. I can't pronounce that, just look at it. It's 2862 and it means Colonia, a city settlement of Roman soldiers, a garrison city. We talked about this last week. And it talks about the city of Philippi, about this garrison. And Philippi means lovers of horses, they who lean on their military complex. Put in war apparatus, remember the apparatus, the gadget? War apparatus, military industrial complex, you get 2862. That's what you get when you add the numbers in exalted organization, 2862. And Eisenhower, in his farewell speech in 1961, warned about this military-industrial complex that they had built. Put in USA military-industrial complex, you get 1961. Let's go to the next slide, because the title of my sermon was Vatican West. Put in Vatican West, you get 1949, the very year that they created NATO in Washington, D.C. 1949 means destroy, defeat in battle, throw into confusion. You see, the word war, the etymology of the word war means to confuse, to perplex, to bring into confusion. And 1949 in Greek means seized, took hold, to seize, for help, injury, attainment, or any other purpose. Yes, they seized the United States for the purpose of using it as a war machine. Now, you want proof? Pastor told you NATO is the Pope's army. NATO is the Pope's army. Where does the Pope live right now? Where's he seated at? Rome. What's the name of the palace he's sitting in? The Vatican, the divining serpent. Okay, go to the next slide. The military arm of the Vatican, 1776. You see the Pope's hat looks just like the Pentagon, doesn't it? That's because they're in control of this war machine. They're in control. It's the Vatican's army. And notice, Vatican is 854, and 854 is the word ottain. Now look here. Remember I told you the we? Who's we? The we is them. The West and the East, the we is them. The Vatican, the ottain, NATO, the Pope's army. Now, I challenge you right now, go look up 854 in Strong's, and you're not going to see ottain. You're not going to see it. It's hidden. Yahweh told you it's hidden. It's only used in one scripture, Yeketskia 1654. It's not used anywhere else, and it's not even shown if you look up 854. I'll show you why next time, because we're not done with George Washington. I got to show you the demons behind all this. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over. If you'd please stand, Yahweh bless your understanding. I'd like to turn it back over to the great Kohan Zephaniah Hawkins.